Hello there guys and welcome back to Blues Fans TV for my preview ahead of Hull City versus Chelsea in the fourth round of the FA Cup. Of course, it is an away game for ourselves and it is taking place tomorrow on Saturday with the late kickoff at 5:30 PM UK time. As you can see on screen, this video is again sponsored by OneFootball, so if you wouldn't mind, please go down below into the first line of the description, of the video description, and download the OneFootball app via that link. That would be massively appreciated. It helps us out a lot and you can get all of the news you need surrounding Chelsea, surrounding any football club you choose basically as your favourite that you need. Transfer rumours, transfer news, live score updates, anything you need, it's all in there. So please use the link in the first line of the description to download the app. That would be massively appreciated. And of course, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to Blues Fans TV. Make sure you hit the notification bell button, and also, if you wouldn't mind, please drop a like on this video. But now that was enough waffling, let's just get into the video. And as I do, recently, I will start it off by speaking about the lineups, which I would go for. You will see on this side, and what I think Frank Lampard might go for. You will see on this side. And as I always say ahead of these cup fixtures, basically, I find it incredibly difficult to predict what the manager is going to pick. I mean, we don't know exactly how tired certain players are. We don't know how difficult the boss expects the game to be. We don't know how much he trusts certain youngsters, etc. There's so many unknown factors when you go into a game like this. But I will do my best, with all of those things in mind. Now, in the press conference, which I will touch on a little bit more later on as well, Lampard did confirm that Caballero would start in goal tomorrow. And personally, I would do the same anyway. But he did actually also say that Kepa, replacing Kepa is not something he's looking at now. But by saying now, he certainly didn't rule out a move in the summer, if you ask me. But I could just be interpreting things here. But coming to the centre-backs, I think just for rotation, I think this won't be too crazy of a selection here. I just think we should, and also that Lampard will go for Tomori and Zuma, seeing as Rudiger and Christensen have played all of the last few games, so just go for those two in my opinion. But then coming to the fullbacks is where it gets tricky in my opinion. Now at right back, I'm really not sure. How fit is Reece James? We don't know. None of the journalists in the press conference asked about Reece James. And even if he is fit, should he start? I don't personally think he should. Have him fit for Leicester, have him, take another week off or something, and just not strain the ankle, strain the knee, which were all affected by obviously the impact he suffered away at Newcastle. So, just make sure he's fully fit for the next game, leave him out of this one. I personally would go for Tariq Lamptey, of course, the youngster that came on at Arsenal. But do I think Lampard will do that as well? I don't. I mean, I personally, like I said, I would go for Lamptey because Aspie plays pretty much every game. And James, like I said, just had that injury. But I think Lampard, if James is not fit and if he decides not to play Reece James, I think he'll just go for Aspie. I could be wrong, but that's just absolutely my gut feeling. And then on the left back, I guess, I would assume it's going to be Marcos Alonso. I mean, he's back from injury. At this point, I don't see him being sold this window anymore. And while Emerson wasn't bad against Arsenal by any means, wasn't great, but, he wasn't bad. I think the boss will give Alonso another go. And to be honest, why not? It's Hull at the end of the day. So as much as I don't really rate Alonso that highly, Emerson hasn't exactly impressed recently, so might as well give Alonso a go in my opinion. But then coming to the midfield, and obviously as always, also kind of to the formation, because, we will and hopefully always do, for the most part, stick to a forward-to-back formation. I would actually also go for a 4-2-3-1 this time round, rather than a 4-3-3. And I think Lampard will do the same, but of course it will be and should be, very flexible to move into a 4-3-3 or even move into a 4-1-2-3 from that base, like 4-2-3-1, if that makes sense. But, that's what I will go for. I will, pick on this side, like I said, and I think Lampard will go for as well. Now, my midfield would consist of Mateo Kovacic and Billy Gilmour at the base. I would pick those two. Kante against Hull would just be a little bit dumb in my opinion, and Jorginho has played a lot as of late, so give him a deserved rest. And then seeing as Mason Mount has actually featured in 33 of our all of our 34 games so far this season, and he's still not actually fully over that ankle injury he suffered in, that first Champions League game of the season against Valencia. He could really, really do with a full rest. Don't even take him. Don't even put him on the bench. Give him a full rest. Earned a lot of criticism recently, considering he's played a lot, considering he's still a little bit injured. Maybe we have to cut him a little bit of slack, but he's still been playing a little bit too much, considering his performances haven't been very good. So for me, actually, Ross Barkley just, should be at the number 10. You can talk about some other of the youngsters, but I wouldn't go too all-out crazy with starting youngsters, to be honest. It's still Hull. They're still a Championship side. They're not a League 2 side. And, I wouldn't just take it too lightly, if that makes sense. I would personally already go for Lamptey and Gilmour. So, I would leave it at that and just go with Ross Barkley. As for Lampard, though, now I reckon he will also start Kovacic. And I also reckon that he will give Jorginho a rest. But I think he'll stick with Kante next to Kovacic rather than going for Billy Gilmour. I could be wrong, but, I think that's what he's going to do. At least that would be a slightly deeper role, hopefully. And then it would be Kovacic to push us up more. I just think he wants to be more certain of getting the win, hence why he won't pick someone like Billy Gilmore. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what he actually does. And then at the 10, I also think he'll go for Ross Barkley. I think even he will see that Mason Mount could really do with the rest. I hope he leaves him out of the squad completely just to leave him at home. But again, we'll just have to wait and see on that one. As for the wingers, now with Christian Pulisic, of course, still out injured, surely Pedro has to start. Surely he does. Even though, I really don't rate him at all these days. Resting at least one of Willian and Hudson-Odoi is just more important. But just because Willian is much older, if Hudson-Odoi is capable and is kind of like, and can handle just playing again, he is still very young. They're both kind of at the wrong end of the 20s. Like Hudson-Odoi might be a slight bit too young to still play to already play so many games. And William might just be a little bit too old to still play so many games. But if Hudson-Odoi can handle it, I would go for him and leave William on the bench. And then if we're winning especially, sub one off for the other. And if we're losing, I guess, then, bring him on for Pedro, I guess. And weirdly, I actually think Lampard will do the same. I actually think Lampard will do the same as I would here. But it could just as much be Pedro and Willian. Who knows? Maybe he even goes for Willian and Hudson-Odoi again. Who knows? But he's constantly criticising the wingers, really. So I would be surprised by that. But then coming to the striker, now Tammy Abraham, as you could see from the title and from the thumbnail, he, of course, he's out injured. He is out injured. He didn't suffer a fracture in either his leg or his ankle, though, which he injured against Arsenal, which is, of course, great news. Because according to Lampard, there was actually a worry about that it might not be a complete fracture, but at least a hairline fracture, which, of course, would just take longer to heal up. But he will not be fit for the game tomorrow. Like I said, he's out. Whether he will then be fit for the Leicester game the week after is not yet for certain, Lampard said. But with that, and Giroud basically having personal terms agreed with Inter, and just waiting for the move to actually materialise, I think it will be Batshuayi that starts up front at Hull. Kind of has to be. But should it be? Especially him having that shocker against Forest in the last round. I'm not sure, but I would probably also go for Batshuayi myself. I mean, I wouldn't mind if it's Giroud, and that's crazy coming from me, I know that. But we just haven't seen him in a very long time, and I just think, just give him a likely last game. Why not? If he is to leave, like you might as well, if that makes sense. But it probably is going to be Michy Batshuayi, and we're not even sure if, Giroud, with all of this negotiation going on, is even still part of, complete, full, like, first-team training. Does he take part in every session? I don't know. So I guess it probably has to be Michy Batshuayi. So those are the two teams that I will pick, and Frank Lampard, well, in my opinion, Frank Lampard will pick. And then just to quickly touch on the press conference, which, of course, took place earlier before getting into the tactics. Now, firstly, actually some big news. The mobile company, have been announced as a new kit sponsor for 3 years from the upcoming season onwards. But reportedly, they're not actually paying any more than Yokohama did with their £40 million a year, which was very anticlimactic in my opinion when I read it. Because I'm like, we're getting a new sponsor. At least have us pay us more, but apparently not. And also, I'm not big fan of it because I think the logo would just look a bit shit on a shirt, frankly. But that is that. Lampard then also made it very, very clear that he wants to make signings this window. He made it very clear again, more clear than he's done previously, in my opinion, stating that the club knows exactly what he wants after explaining that it is a big issue if you're creating loads of chances every game, have 20 plus shots most times in most games, and don't score enough goals to win. And, he is kind of right in that. And he also said that Soumaré from Lille, the midfielder, who we have been linked with, is not someone we're looking at this window. Might be someone we're looking at in the summer. We'll have to wait and see, but he said it's not something we're looking at this window. Other than that, nothing particularly interesting or revealing from the presser. So let's get into those tactics. And touching on what Lampard said with our chance creation, now I'm not necessarily saying he's completely wrong. And we should most certainly be scoring more from the chances we are creating. But of these 20 plus shots that he mentioned against Arsenal, how many were actually from positions and situations that make you think this should be a goal? I mean, 4, 5, still clearly enough for us to win the game, and we should have won that game. But it's not really 20 plus proper chances, and it very rarely is. Like in very few games do I, leave the game basically saying, oh, we should have scored about 10 here. You know what I mean? Like that is very rarely the case. And firstly, I personally believe that we just need to do a bit more than just cross the ball into the box constantly, which is kind of what we've been doing for the last few games, and it's kind of annoying me, especially when Reece James doesn't play. But even when he does play, we need to be a bit more variable than that. But our midfielders and wingers also need to bloody learn to get into the right positions when these crosses are flying in. Like, we need to cover multiple positions inside the box when a cross comes in. There needs to be someone at the near post. There needs to be someone at the far post. There needs to be two people kind of in the backdrop of the box. And there needs to be someone that can kind of just react to where the ball goes. Like, we need to have these positions filled. It happens way too many times that a great cross, a perfectly timed cross, is played into the box, and there's just no one there to get on the end of them. Because, Tammy stops to expect a cutback, and then he just flashes across goal, and no one's at the far post, or no one else at the near post. Like, we just can't have that. They really, really, need to sort that out. Like, they absolutely have to. And I also think that we need to just try to create more through the middle, more via 1-2s, not just praying that Jorginho can chip the ball into the box and the defence spots it so we can score. A bit more than that. It needs to be a bit more than that. There needs to be more movement, smarter movement, especially when teams sit deep against us, which, you know, you would have to expect Hull to do. We need to have quicker passing, more precise passing, and at times also shoot more from distance. Like, how often do we actually do that? Just willing, kind of running along the edge of the box, trying to find an opening to shoot, but don't just leave it down to him on the run. You know, it's difficult to actually hit the target with a good shot when you're kind of sprinting. Like, it's very difficult. People shouldn't constantly expect that. Just because Ronaldo and Messi can do it, doesn't mean every footballer can. Like, it's a very difficult thing to do. And it's obviously needless to say that our set pieces need to improve drastically, but will they? Probably not. And to be honest, that was it from tactics. What else is there to say? Be quicker, pass better, do more than cross the ball, and then take our chances. That's probably the only thing that Lampard can tell them as well, except I'm working on the things. But what can he say? There's good enough players to do these things, but they're just not doing them, and it is frustrating. But now coming to Hull, just to quickly touch on them as well. They're a proper mid-table championship side these days. 12th of 24 in the table, 7 points off the last playoff spot. But to be fair, I mean, they are still 15 points above relegation. So the manager did admit that the league is their priority and that they will make some changes to the team for the game tomorrow, but still said that they want to win the tie if they can. I mean, of course they would, but for example, Forest didn't really look like they actually wanted to. And they also have a game, another game coming up on Tuesday. So even if they didn't have a midweek game last week like we did, it is still likely that, okay, they might not make as many changes as Forest did against us a couple of weeks ago, but Hull are still likely to make a fair few changes, especially seeing as they're, in their defensive areas, they're hit with quite a few injuries anyway. It will be very interesting, though, whether, by far the biggest danger man, right winger Jared Bowen, who's on 16 goals and 6 assists so far this season, as well as Kamil Grosicki, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his name, who was second in their goal contribution stat with 6 goals and 5 assists, whether those two will start, whether those two will be on the bench, in whatever kind of way they will feature, because, that will be a big indicator how much they're going to go for actually trying to win this tie, if that makes sense. And interestingly, for once, one of our opponents is actually not a specialist at set-piece goals, with just 4 out of their, 40 goals in the league so far coming from set pieces. So I guess maybe it's a bit of a let off for us, because we don't have to be so worried about conceding from set pieces, but probably will also make them be really dangerous from it. So who knows? Overall, though, of course we have to get a win. I mean, we're a Premier League team, top 4 in the Premier League, playing a championship, mid-table championship side. Of course we have to get a win. And while I would feel they're a slightly lesser and more inexperienced team than I think Lampard will, that doesn't necessarily, or that doesn't at all, mean that I don't want to win and that I don't think we will win. What I really don't want is a replay game. Like, I really can't be asked for that, because there is still replay games in the 4th round of the FA Cup, and I really don't need that at all. And I'm sure Lampard and the team don't want that at all either. Now, my score prediction is going to be a 3-1 win. Don't ask me how I think we're going to score 3 goals, to be honest. I'm not sure, but that's kind of just my gut feeling. 3-1 win. Whether I'm right or not, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But to be honest, guys, that has really been it from me. As you can see, again, like I mentioned earlier already, this video is sponsored by OneFootball. So again, thank you to them. And if you haven't already, please go down below and click the first link in the description to download the OneFootball app via that link. That would be massively appreciated and help us out a lot. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to Blues Fans TV. Drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it. And also don't forget to hit the notification bell button and choose to be notified about all uploads so you don't miss any of future videos. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea. It's the FA Cup this weekend, and I'll see you when I see you.